Sunday, everybody. I'm KHOU 11 meteorologist Pat Cavlin here. It's 8 p.m. It's time for your tropical update. And, we do these every night again at 8 p.m. Through at least the peak of hurricane season, just to keep you in the loop with what's going on. And we still have that one wave that we're watching out in the Atlantic, now up to high odds for development over the next week. 70% chance in the next 7 days that we get a named system out of this wave. And even within the next 48 hours, the odds have jumped quite a bit now to a 50-50 chance. There's the wave right there now in the middle of the Atlantic. It's got some dry air just to the north, and so I think that's what's the only limiting factor that we've got to deal with right now. But there is the potential that it turns into something anywhere within that red shaded area. So from its current location into the western Atlantic. And then notice how towards the end that shaded area curves to the north. I mean, this has been the story with every single tropical system that has formed out in this part of the world. So it looks like this one will be no different. This does not look to move towards the Caribbean. So here's what the models do with it. We start the clock Tuesday and we take this all the way through the end of the week. And notice by the end of the week, we actually do have a closed area of circulation, potentially one that starts to gain strength, maybe even a named system here. This is by Thursday and Friday, so I do think that there will be some development. There's Puerto Rico, here's Hispaniola, this is Jamaica and Florida, just for you to get your bearings. So it looks like this is going to stay out of the Caribbean and curve just to the north of the Leeward Islands before eventually, hopefully, going to the north and then eventually the northeast out to sea. This does not look right now to be a threat to any landmass. As we check out the typical spots that we look for tropical development this time of year during the month of October, notice the hotspot starts to shift away from the Atlantic and now more into the Caribbean, going up the east coast. And that's just because as we get into this time of year, we get the warmest water in the Caribbean. And also there's just so much influence out in the middle of the Atlantic from dust and from wind shear that things become a little more hostile. And so down in the Caribbean, this tends to be a better spot for tropical development during this time of year. The path that storms tend to take, though, during the month of October is interesting and really just a telltale sign of the season. Notice how they kind of go up and then also out towards out to sea. The reason for that is because during October, we start to get more and more cold fronts moving across the U.S. And as these cold fronts come through, they help to deflect storms out towards the eastern seaboard and then ultimately out to sea. And that's why notice the western Gulf actually isn't even highlighted here for development potential. So it's very, very unusual to get storms developing here in our part of the Gulf and much more likely out across the eastern Gulf towards Florida. Doesn't mean it can't happen. Of course, anything that forms in our backyard, we got to keep a close eye on. But as we go deeper and deeper into the season, it becomes less and less likely that we have to deal with tropical systems here in southeast Texas. That said, we're slowly starting to come out of the peak of the season. That was September 10th. It's now October 5th. So we're well down the graph now. Again, I think that we really can't turn our backs on things until we get into November. That's when our chance for tropical systems, or at least strong tropical systems, gets very, very low, because by that point we typically do have our first few cold fronts moving through the area. Until then, though, we keep you updated here every night at 8 o'clock. We do these tropical updates to keep you informed of what's going on. As of right now, as of tonight, no named systems and also no threats to the United States near term or long term. We keep an eye on everything, and of course we'll have an update on this and your full forecast coming up on the KHOU 11 News at 10 o'clock. Hope to see you then.